My wife and I were enjoying a date when her mother burst into the restaurant, shouting, "Why didn't you invite me?" My wife instantly apologized and pulled out a spare chair. Holding back my anger, I got up and declared, "You two have fun. I'm done with this marriage." The entire place went silent. Before we dive in, leave a comment below mentioning where you're reading from. Enjoy the story. I'm a 38-year-old man who was married to a 34-year-old woman. Let's call her Eli for 6 years. We met through mutual acquaintances and got married after 2 years of dating. In the beginning, everything felt comfortable. She was thoughtful, funny, affectionate. She seemed to listen. At least that was how it appeared. We hardly ever argued at first, except when it involved her mother, Helen. Let me be upfront. I truly tried. Everyone says that, but I really did. Never had I clashed with anyone's parents before. I'm not the confrontational type. I mostly keep to myself. I'm the sort who bakes desserts on special occasions, remembers birthdays, and tries to be considerate. But from our very first meeting, Helen gave me the cold shoulder, like she'd already decided I wasn't good enough for her daughter. You know, the kind of person who sizes you up in 5 seconds and never revises that judgment? The first time Eli introduced me, Helen barely smiled. She just eyed me up and down and remarked, "You're taller than I expected." I assumed it was nerves or something similar and let out a polite laugh. It only deteriorated from there. Helen would drop lines like, "Oh, you don't wear any fragrance? Bold choice." Or, "That's the shirt you're going with." Or, "So you didn't follow my recipe, I see." She would swing by our home without warning. On one Sunday morning, she used the spare key Eli had given her and let herself in. I was wearing a bathrobe. Helen looked me right in the eye and said, "I used to wear things like that too, back before I was married." I begged Eli to establish boundaries. She'd respond, "My mom means well. She's just old school, doing her best." No, Helen was aiming to control everything. Eli either didn't notice or didn't mind. Over time, I realized how much authority Helen wielded over her. Eli refused to finalize anything major without Mom's input. If we planned a trip, she'd call Helen to ensure it wouldn't clash with Helen's schedule. I couldn't even pick out a new sofa without Helen's critique. She found fault with everything I did, how I folded towels, how I cooked eggs. And Eli never told her to stop. She'd just smile vaguely and let me take the heat. Last month, Eli came home saying she had a surprise. Reservations at Lucas Trattoria, the same spot where we'd celebrated our first wedding anniversary. She said we needed some time to reconnect. We had been tense lately, so I got excited. Maybe she'd finally recognized the problems and wanted to put us first. I got dressed up, put on the black shirt she once loved, styled my hair carefully. We arrived at the restaurant, dimly lit, cozy, full of couples talking softly. It seemed perfect. We ordered drinks and had a laugh about something trivial. One of her coworkers who got the wrong Zoom link. The server brought fresh bread. Then it happened. We were in the middle of a conversation when a sharp voice cut across the room. "Why didn't you invite me?" It pierced the air, making everyone turn to stare. I lifted my head, and there stood Helen. She wore a flashy blouse, heavy makeup, and carried an oversized bag. She'd halted in the middle of Lucas, glaring at us like we'd committed a crime. Eli froze. "Mom," Helen approached. "You told me you were staying in tonight. You never mentioned coming here. I told you I wanted to check this place out." I was speechless. My heart pounded. Helen shot me a look and added, "You two really thought I wouldn't want to come along? How selfish." Then Eli did something that stunned me. She looked at her mother, then at me, and pulled out the vacant chair beside us. "Have a seat, Mom. It's fine." I stared, hoping it was some kind of joke, but it wasn't. She called the waiter for another place setting. That was it. I stood, outwardly calm but boiling inside, and said in a strange voice, "Enjoy yourselves. I'm finished with this marriage." Then I walked out. The entire restaurant went silent. Not just a few glances, but absolute hush. I didn't look at Eli or Helen. I went straight for the exit and kept walking until I reached the corner. I pulled out my phone, got a ride, and stayed at a friend's place. I didn't return that night or the next. When I finally came back, Eli seemed stunned, as if I were the one overreacting. She said, "You embarrassed me." I answered, "You took her side." She claimed she only gave in so there wouldn't be a bigger scene, that Helen would have caused more drama if told to leave and she didn't see another option. I said, "You could have stuck up for me, like a wife, a partner, someone who cares." She had no answer. I'm not the kind of person who blows up without reason, but that fiasco didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was years of feeling belittled, sidelined, forced to swallow it all with a smile. So I began calmly planning my departure. No shouting, no tears, I just withdrew, stopped communicating. I separated our finances, changed passwords, got an attorney. I collected documents, snapped photos of the items I had paid for, changed where my paycheck was deposited, rented a P.O. box, and found a small apartment. I was leaving, and Eli? She pretended everything was normal, like that disastrous dinner was just a blip. I stopped sleeping in our bedroom, stopped cooking, and she hardly seemed to notice, or maybe she did and simply didn't mind. Helen, however, had no idea what was coming. After that night at Luca's, I kept my distance. I needed time and space. Eli acted as if nothing was different. The day I briefly came back, I found her casually playing video games on the couch, like any other weekend. She looked over and said, "You feeling better?" I stayed silent. She went on, "You know how my mom is. Easier to just let her join us than fight her." I stared, wondering if she heard what she was saying. I gave no response, just walked past. From then on, I wouldn't pretend anymore. No more conversations about it. No more requests to set boundaries. I'd done all that. This time, I wasn't asking, I was acting. I copied every bank statement, every receipt, every email and text. Since I handled most of our bills, it actually helped my case. We had a joint savings, sure, but the rent came from my account, and our credit cards were under my name. Plus, I was the one who had covered most of the down payment on our apartment. Then I uncovered something else. Eli had been sending Helen money. Started small, 100 here, 150 there, but it piled up. I saw notes like refund for mom's car repair, groceries, mom, pay mom back for brunch. I never even knew these payments were happening. When I casually asked about them, Eli said, "She's done so much for both of us. This is the least I can do." For both of us? She was undermining our relationship, not helping. I saved all the screenshots in a folder. That led to a pivotal moment. One morning, Eli was in the shower when her phone pinged. I wasn't snooping, but a notification popped up in her chat with Helen. "Did you already tell him?" My stomach churned. I opened the thread. Helen had written multiple messages. "He's going to find out anyway. You said you'd tell him last week." I'm tired of lying. No one else was in that conversation, just Helen and Eli. My heart pounded. What were they hiding? When Eli came out, wrapped in a towel, I didn't yell or throw the phone. I handed it to her. She turned pale. "Read it," I said. She didn't. She sank onto the bed, head in her hands. "I was going to tell you," she mumbled. "Tell me what?" I pressed. She admitted that Helen had secretly rented an apartment 2 floors below ours 6 months ago. They kept it from me because it would be awkward if I knew. Helen wanted to monitor us closely, which meant that woman had been in the same building for half a year, watching me come and go, probably from her balcony, never once telling me. Eli had helped her with the move, getting the lease, carrying boxes, all while lying to my face for half a year. I was speechless. "She just wanted to be near us," Eli said. I didn't think it was a big issue. Not an issue. Your mother is living directly below us, essentially spying, and you've hidden it for 6 months. That night, I packed a bag and left. From then on, I took each step with care. As mentioned, I already had a place lined up, a 1-bedroom, mother-in-law free. My attorney is incredible. We're doing everything methodically by the book. But Helen certainly didn't take it well. I started getting emails from her, some passive-aggressive, others blatantly hostile. A few examples. "Marriage is about forgiveness, not tantrums. You're punishing her for being a good daughter. When you're old and alone, you'll regret all this." I ignored it. She also showed up outside my new building. Yes, she found out, just standing there on the sidewalk, staring at the windows as if that might summon me. "Why I didn't come down?" she texted. "Running away won't fix your attitude." I shared everything with my lawyer, who noted it all. To Eli's small credit, she wasn't actively chasing me around, though I know she talked to Helen daily. Probably had no idea how bad this was. Then came the real bombshell. My lawyer found, upon reviewing our apartment records, that Helen's name was on the deed. Evidently, when we purchased it, Eli added her mother as a silent investor for the down payment. But I contributed most of the initial deposit. The paperwork had been handled by one of Helen's friends in some office. I never saw the fine print, so they slipped Helen's name onto the title. I had no idea. So now, it was me versus Eli and Helen. Helen technically had a claim to the property, meaning she could try to block any sale or force Eli to keep it. My attorney said we could challenge it, though it was clear Eli had arranged this a long time before the fiasco at the restaurant, maybe since the very beginning. I thought discovering Helen lived 2 floors below me was the worst betrayal. I was wrong. I had no clue how deep it ran until last week. I once believed I was dealing with a controlling mother-in-law and a wife who wouldn't stand up to her, but I didn't realize how deliberate it all was. 2 days ago, Eli texted, asking if we could meet and end things amicably. She sounded serious, so I agreed to meet at a cafe, definitely not Luca's. She arrived carrying a folder. I brought some papers, she said. Nothing official, just a quick way to settle the property issue. I didn't touch them right away. I asked her what it was. She hesitated. It's basically an informal agreement my mom's lawyer drafted. You know, to clarify who keeps what. I opened the folder, and my heart sank after scanning the first page. It was a deed form relinquishing all my rights to the apartment in favor of Helen. Eli explained, now you won't have to worry about that place. You're moving out anyway, right? So it's simpler. I stared at her for a solid few seconds. You want me to give our home to your mother? She already contributed a bit, you know. I said, I paid almost all of the down payment. She shrugged. Yeah, but it's complicated now. I shut the folder, got up, and left without a word. Later, I gave it to my attorney. She read it, jaw tightening. Where'd she get this? I told her Helen's lawyer wrote it. After flipping through the pages, she said, this is a total trap. If you signed, you'd be giving up any ownership at all, with zero compensation. She leaned back. You're not divorcing just one woman. You're taking on a mother-daughter duo. That's when I connected the dots. I went through old emails, receipts, half-forgotten chats. I remembered how Helen insisted we use a particular friend's office for the apartment purchase, offering a better rate. I trusted Eli at the time. Turns out that office lost its license for shady deals and document forgeries. Guess who signed the closing paperwork? Eli and Helen, excluding me from entire sections they claimed didn't need my signature. Whether legal or not, it was definitely unethical. My attorney contacted an investigator for possible property fraud charges. The final twist, one that actually made me laugh, was Helen attempting to list our apartment for sale last week behind my back. A neighbor messaged me. I saw a for sale sign at your place. Are you moving? I checked online, and there it was, my address, with a scheduled open house, and Helen's phone as the contact. I phoned the realtor, who was confused. He'd been hired by the co-owner and main investor, told that I had already been paid out. I forwarded it all to my attorney. Now Helen faces scrutiny for fraudulent listings. After that failed quitclaim attempt, Eli flooded my phone with texts. First, long laments about feeling hurt. Then guilt trips. You're throwing away all we built. Finally, anger. You're ruining my life just because you can't stand my mom. I ignored them. One night, she called 11 times and left a voicemail in tears. You have no idea. She was the only one there for me when I had nothing. She gave me everything, and now you're taking it from her. That said it all. I wasn't just married to Eli. I was married to Eli and Helen. I've been the third will the entire time. The property is currently frozen under investigation. Nobody can sell it until ownership is clarified. My attorney is handling the divorce filing and the property dispute. I've started weekly therapy. I never understood how broken I felt until I walked away from that place. We're keeping a close watch on Helen in case she tries any more stunts like fake listings. If she does, we'll pursue criminal charges. And there are still more things I uncovered about Eli's finances, likely unknown even to Helen. I'm prepared to reveal it all. This isn't over, not by a long shot. By then, the legal battle was full-blown. The divorce was underway, the property was a nightmare, and Helen had already failed in one attempt to secretly sell my apartment. But some folks refused to go down quietly. One Thursday evening, I was eating takeout at my new place when Eli texted me. Come to Mom's place for dinner. Let's talk. I hesitated because the message felt too polished, too calm. My gut said not to go, but I agreed. Why? I wanted them to say everything to my face. No texts, no hidden documents. I wanted to see them squirm. I needed closure. I arrived at 7 p.m. sharp. Helen opened the door, all smiles like nothing ever happened. The house smelled like meatloaf and entitlement. Glad you're here. Let's handle this like grown-ups, she said. I didn't smile back. Eli was already seated at the table, looking worn out, as if she hadn't slept in weeks. We sat quietly. Then Helen cleared her throat. We want to discuss the apartment, find a fair solution. Fair? I nearly laughed. She continued, you never really had the finances for something that size. Eli and I made it happen. We have to protect our investment. Eli gave a small nod. We never intended it to end up like this. I set my fork down. Oh, you mean how you hid the fact that Helen was living 2 floors below me, forged my signature, and tricked me into signing my home over? That part. Helen frowned. Don't be dramatic. That snapped something in me. I stood up. You believe it's only about property? It's about how you two disrespected me every day for 6 years. Never once treating me like family. You barely treated me as a real person. Eli said, I tried. No, you handed the reins to your mom. You never really left her control. You just dragged her into our place. Helen rose too. You have no clue how much I've done for my daughter. She owes me everything. I looked from Helen to Eli. And she gave you everything, including what was supposed to be mine. I pulled out my own folder, bank statements, receipts proving I had paid 87% of the down payment. I dropped it on the table. Numbers don't lie, no matter what story you spin. A heavy silence followed. Eli stared at the folder without opening it. Helen scoffed. This is just spiteful. Completely unnecessary. All of a sudden, another voice spoke. He's not being spiteful. He's telling the truth. It was Helen's sister, Aunt Marie, who must have slipped in unnoticed. Apparently, my attorney had contacted her while tracing Helen's finances linked to a family trust. Marie stepped forward, arms folded. You want to explain it, Helen, or should I? Helen froze. I asked, explain what? Marie turned to me. The money Helen used for that down payment wasn't actually hers. It came from a trust fund left by her late husband, meant for younger relatives. She wasn't authorized to touch it, so she falsified documents to pull out. Your lawyer reached out to me for verification. I felt sick. Eli whispered, Mom, is that true? Helen stayed quiet. Marie delivered the final blow. If it's reported, and it will be, this could lead to fraud charges. Helen screamed, You're tearing this family apart. You let an outsider come in, and look what's happened. Eli sprang up, yelling back, You did this, Mom. You lied. You made me lie. And you wrecked everything. Helen slapped her right there in front of Marie and me. Eli stood, cheeks flushed, trembling. I picked up my folder and headed for the door. Before exiting, I said, Keep your lies, but you're not keeping my life, my name, or my future. Then I left. The next day, my attorney filed a motion to freeze the apartment's title. Helen's accounts were flagged, and Marie agreed to testify if need be. Eli emailed me an apology, saying she hadn't known about the trust and regretted all of it. I never replied. Instead, I signed the final divorce papers, sent them to her new P.O. box, and reverted to my old last name the following day. It's been 3 months since that night. I'm in a smaller apartment now. No fancy countertops, no shared mortgage, but it's mine. I sleep better. I laugh louder. I cook my own meals without anyone criticizing how I dice vegetables. Sometimes I look back and feel angry over the lost years, how blind I was. But mostly, I'm relieved I escaped. If you're reading this and wondering if you should leave someone who never stands up for you, take this as your sign.